it is my great delight to wrap up my conversation with you here today, to thank you for your time and to introduce you to my dear friend of many, many years, a member of two winning Roll a Page President's Cup golf golf championships. I think he's one of only two people that's a multiple winner in this team event like the Ryder Cup that we've had. He is a member of the Roll a Page Riding Club on his Harley Davidson motorcycle. He is intertwined into the very fabric of Roll a Page. He is Canada's most favored coach. Let me introduce you to the one and only Richard Robbins.
All right, Phil, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, as we get started, got to get your energy up. Stand up for me. I see you all. I see you. Winter stage here, so stand up for me. We're going to get our energy up a little bit. Yeah. Okay, play along for fun. Look at Jillian up there. She's rocking. Way to go, Jillian. Look at John Ripko from Calgary. Man, he's got the moves, doesn't he? All right, beautiful stuff. There's Tracy Appleton. Okay, beautiful stuff, everybody. Okay, well, welcome. And Phil, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Yes, you know, I forgot about that. You brought it up. I think there's only two of us that actually have been on the winning team twice. Jason from Ottawa obviously was on that winning team as well. So real cool stuff. Boy, that event's always a lot of fun. So it's so good to be here. Now, as I get started here, I want everybody to sort of see, because I'm actually in the studio, as you can see. Kelly and Phil were working from their office or their home, but we're actually in a studio. So I have Dana Richard here with me. I have Bill Parnamy, who are going to be presenting some concurrent sessions to you in a little while. But as I move over this way, what I have is a number of screens in front of me, and they might change the camera angle so that you can actually see. And so, of course, I can see all of you. And what happens is screens keep moving, and it brings people up, you know, so I get to see everybody over a period of time, which is pretty cool. You know, so the technology is really amazing that we're dealing with today, so I actually get to see all of you. The other thing is I've got a chat over here. So right here I have a chat. You can probably see the chat. So as you type things in, I actually get to see them as well. And just so you also know, we have two of our team members. We have Storm is online and Jamie is online. And if there's any questions you have, you can just go ahead and type them in. They're saying my volume's really bad, and I know they're working on it, so I don't know if it's this mic pack or what it is, but they will continue to work on that, and if we've got to change it, we'll change it. So anyway, we've got Storm is online, Storm Fletcher, and Jamie Ballahhood, actually Robbins, my daughter, she's online as well. I shouldn't say that actually. It used to be Jamie Robbins, now it's Jamie Ballahhood because she went ahead and got married, right? And of course, I tried to convince her not to change, but she wouldn't go for that. She goes, no, which is all good. So we got them online. So if you have any questions as we go through this, please just go ahead and type them in, and they'll be monitoring. We've got a couple of different Zoom rooms happening here. So Storm's monitoring one Zoom room, which is this one, and Jamie is actually going to monitor this one over here. So please, any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we will get to those. So anyway, it's my pleasure to be here today, and as Phil said, it's been a very interesting year, and I don't know about you, but every time I listen to Phil, I always feel more positive when I'm done. How many people would agree with that? You know, he always paints such a very positive picture, backed up by facts that we all understand, to help us get into space, okay, in terms of taking that information to the customers as well. Said, Rich, try your side volume bigger. I don't know what's going on. So anyway, they're working on that. Okay, so I always feel more motivated, but I want to start out by telling you about my year, and then we're going to get into this. So I look at it, and everybody's had a different type of year. Some of you have had a really great year business-wise, others not as much, but most people have had a really good year this year, which is really cool. But again, the challenge is COVID, right? We're all dealing with this COVID thing. You know, March came along, and all of a sudden, things started to shut down. We couldn't figure out what to do. The real estate market went in the tank for 60 days until everybody sort of figured it out. And then, as Phil mentioned, it's turned out to be just a phenomenal year. And I got to admit, you know, the 1st of April, I would not have predicted that. I'll be very honest with you. I would have thought it'd been an okay year, but not to turn out what it's been. But I'll also tell you that I have not had a really great year. Now, the reason I say that is because this year I lost my dog, Buddy. I lost my best friend about just over a month ago now. We've been friends for over 40 years, and we live fairly close together. I lost him. And then about 3 weeks ago, we were enjoying a Friday afternoon, my wife and I, getting ready for Virtual Masters Academy, which was coming up the next week, the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, when she got her results back and she tested positive for COVID. So all of a sudden we're sitting there, she tests positive for COVID. 4 days before we're supposed to do an event with a couple thousand people, 3-day event virtually, if you can believe it. And of course, now that she's going to be in isolation and quarantine, I have to be in with her. Now, I'm always negative, I stayed negative. So I had to stay home as well. Plus, many of our staff had to sort of stay home. And it was just a complete, I don't know how to even describe it, a complete shock, because I have never in my life not showed up to a speaking engagement on time. I've never not been ready. And all of a sudden, we were going to have to move an event. And in some ways, thank God it was virtual, because I could not do it. Right? My wife, who's a big part, obviously, we run the company together. She's the operations person in charge of events, running it backstage. She couldn't do anything. So anyway, we ended up having to get a hold of almost 2,000 people and communicating that the event was going to be moved, and actually now starts tomorrow. It's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And I'll tell you, it was just, when I look at all the 3 things that happened this year, it was a very, very difficult year. But saying that, it turned out, obviously, to be a good year business-wise for us. It's been a good year for you. It's been a very good year for us. Now, the reason I tell you that is this, is because Friday of last week, I was out of quarantine, which means I'm going Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I can have a little bit of fun until I show up here. But, of course, my staff said, no, Rich, you can't leave the house. You're not leaving the house. You cannot get sick. You cannot get COVID no matter what. So today is my first day out of the house. So I am very excited, everybody. So for like 3 weeks, I've been stuck in my house so that I could stay healthy for today and for, of course, the next 3 days. So I can't tell you how excited I am to be here. I don't know about you. I don't know if you are not, but I am damn excited to be out of the house, in a car, driving again, and in a studio, and get to spend some time with all of you. So I just want to let you know what's been going on in my world and why I'm so bloody happy to be with you all today. I would have been anyway, but I'll tell you, I feel totally different. So anyway, we're going to have a little bit of fun. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go for about 40 minutes or so. I'm going to do high-level stuff for you today, and then what you're going to have is you're going to have 2 concurrent sessions. You're going to have one this morning, you're going to have one this afternoon, either with Dana Richard or Bill Parnaby. Dana Richard, we've been together for 40 years. Dana runs our coaching division. He is our master's coach. He is truly one of the smartest guys that I've ever met, and I promise you this, I would not be standing where I am today without Dana Richard. And then we've got Bill Parnaby. Bill Parnaby has been a coaching client now for about 16 years. He's also now one of our coaches. So yes, we coach him, plus he coaches for us, plus he's a Royal LePage agent, and he just came off his best year ever in real estate. And Bill's going to do some concurrent sessions with you, and Dana's going to do some concurrent sessions. I'm going to do 3 roughly 45-minute sections. I'm still going to do the high-level strategy stuff. They're going to go into the tactical stuff. So they're going to get right into the grind, into the details with you today. We're also going to have a couple breakout sessions today where you'll go into small groups and you'll discuss a question that we'll pose to you. So now you can learn from each other. You can network with each other as well. Hopefully get to meet some people maybe you've never met before, or get reacquainted with an old friend as we haven't been together for a long time. There's a hashtag. If you want to communicate messages socially, we've got a couple hashtags for you called Royal LePage Teams, ROI Live, if that's something that interests you at all. Okay, so let's get right into it. 3 ways to learn, everybody. The first way to learn is what I call the school of hard knocks. And believe me, a lot of people, they start moving that way. You know, they get into the real estate industry, you know, they haven't been terribly trained when they got a real estate license, and they just go out into the world and they go through the school of hard knocks. Very, very difficult. The second way to learn is from the experience of other people. So, of course, now what's happening is you're learning from a colleague in your office. You're maybe learning from a training program that's being put on in your office. Maybe you're at a conference or an event like this right here, where what we do is we tap into the knowledge of others, and that's going to happen with the breakout sessions today. Hopefully it's going to happen for you from what I'm going to present, and Dana and Bill are going to present as well. And the third is when we actually teach and share. And it is said that the teacher always learns the most. And the reason this is true is because when you have the ability to communicate a message, you must have a very, very good understanding of that message. For you to communicate a message for other people to get, what happens, you got to clarify that message in your head really well. Instead of it just being sort of an overall theme, it becomes a strong message that you fully understand. So as we move through this today, I'm going to ask you to put stuff into the chat. I'm going to ask you to get involved when you go into the breakouts, because I promise you, by you communicating something to the 4, 5, or 6 people that are in your breakout, that is solidifying clarity in that message for yourself. It becomes very, very powerful. So let's get into the the remarkable teams. So here's what I'm going to do. I've got sort of 3 things I want to talk about in this segment. Number 1, I want to talk about the 3 freedoms. And that's what I think all real estate sales professionals, especially team leaders and brokers, are trying to achieve. That's the first thing. Because think about this. If you're looking for ideas, wouldn't it make sense that you need to know, first of all, what it is you're trying to achieve with the ideas? You know, it's like the old saying that the eyes will only see and the ears will only hear what the brain is looking for. So what we got to do is we got to show the brain what it is we're looking for. What are we trying to achieve in the world? It's not just going out and being busy every day. It's about the building of something, okay? So I'm going to talk about the 3 freedoms. And the second thing I'm going to talk about is the 5 different types of teams that I see evolving today. And I'm going to go in fairly deep with those because, again, when you see the 5 different ways of building a team, you might say, well, I want to build number 3, I want to build number 2, I want to build number 1, I want to build number 5. So now you've got a vision for what it is that you would like to build in the world. Because again, if you're going to look for ideas, make sure the ideas match up to what it is you want to build, okay? Not just some random idea that might not be moving you forward to the place that you want to be. And then, of course, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off talking about trends. I want to talk about trends, and I'm going to get you to share some of the trends that you see. I'll share some of the trends that I see. So we got a pretty good idea which way is everything moving. So let's talk about the 3 freedoms. So when I look at it, I say that I think that we're all trying to achieve 3 different freedoms. I know that I am, and I think that you are. And I think the first freedom we're all trying to achieve is the freedom of money. What we'd all like to do, the reason that we're willing to take risk, the reason that we're willing to maybe take on team members, the reason that we're willing to build a business, the reason that we're willing to not get paid unless we produce value in the world through a commission check is because we want to be successful financially. And I think this is very important. I think sometimes get away from this concept of money that is maybe bad. And no, I look at it and say, I'm not convinced of that. Dan Sullivan said this. He said, if you can solve a problem with money, you no longer have a problem. And I thought, what a great thought. Now, it took me a while to understand it, but think about this. So COVID hit, all these things started to happen. And then what happened is my wife, what ended up happening is obviously she tested positive for COVID. And I thought, okay, she tests positive for COVID. So I call an executive doctor that I have, okay, that I pay every year, and said, my wife just tested positive for COVID. Now, if I didn't have this doctor, if I didn't have the money to pay for this doctor, I wouldn't have this connection. I might have to go into the regular system. So she said, oh, not a problem here. You know, she took me through all the protocols, what it is you got to do, and the whole deal, right? And of course, you know, I live in New York Region. New York Region Health was calling, and they were, you know, of course, they're doing contact tracing and all that sort of stuff. So what ended up happening is she had something called rapid test. You've heard of the rapid test. And she said, I've got rapid tests we can sell you. So I ended up buying a whole bunch of rapid tests at $50 each. I actually spent about $1,500 on rapid tests. Now that I had the rapid tests, what I could do is I could get all the staff checked. I could get the staff's kids checked, right? I could get my daughter and her husband checked because these were people that were in contact with Sue. Now, when this was all over, I sat and I thought about it for a little while. I said, is that in most people's budget? And the answer would be no, because I spent like $2,000 in these rapid tests. That wouldn't be in most people's rapid budget. Now, the reason I bring this up to you is because one thing that I think we all want to achieve is get ourselves into a position. Hey, I'm not worried about a roof over your head. You got that figured out, right? You know what I mean? You got a car to drive. You know, you're putting food on the table. Maybe you go to a restaurant once in a while. You got all that stuff figured out. There's sort of the basic needs. And yes, maybe you want a bigger home. Maybe you want a second home. I get all of that. But I look at it and say, wouldn't it be enough to have enough money put away, that should something come up in our lives, for us or somebody we love, we can solve that problem. That's financial freedom. See, when I think about one of the freedoms we want is to be in a position to be able to do all of that. Now, I'm not trying to brag here in any way, shape, or form that I can afford an executive doctor. That's not the reason for this message. But here's what I do know is I'm willing to work as hard as I need to work and bring enough value to the marketplace so that I can get myself in a position so I have these things in my life that will add to my life and add to the life of the people that I love. So I look at it and I say, it's not just about material things, everybody. It's about having lots of money so that what we can do is we can make sure that if something does arise, that we go, no problem, I can handle that, no big deal, right? You know, I got 6 months cash sitting in the bank that if the market goes bad, I'm all good. You know, when it went bad in March, I looked at it and said, we're fine. You know, our company could go another 12 months with no revenue if we had to. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to financial freedom. It's not about paying the bills. I think we all got that figured out. But getting ourselves in a position, okay, that now we can build what it is we want to build, not because we're chasing the money, but because we want to build something special. So that's the first freedom I want you to think about. The second freedom is this, the freedom of time. I think all of us want the freedom of time. And what's interesting, a lot of people get into the real estate industry thinking that I'm going to get into real estate, I don't have a schedule. I can work when I want, I can go to work when I want, I go home when I want, and all these sort of things. And exactly the opposite happens. We have what we call the golden handcuffs on. We're working too much. You know what I mean? You know, we're working too many nights, too many weekends. You know, and I look at that and say, well, is that what life is all about? I'm not convinced. And also, I think this idea, this old concept of, you know, I'm going to work really hard to 65 and retire and then enjoy everything that I want to enjoy, I think that concept is getting close to being dead. I think what most of us want to do now is we want to build a life that is satisfying in and of itself every day. That we take long periods of time off. John Ripko from Calgary here takes 2 months or more off every single year. Every single year. That's living. That's called freedom of time. So I think the second thing we want is we want freedom of time. Not freedom of time someday, freedom of time now. So we can enjoy and do the things that we want. So our lives are rich. Yes, we're productive, but our lives are rich. And the third is freedom of purpose. Freedom of purpose. Now, what does purpose mean? Purpose is an intention, right? Like purpose is that you're doing something for a reason. That's what purpose is. You know, you might go to work every day because you want to make money. That's a purpose. It's a low purpose, but it's a purpose. Or you might go to work every day because you want to make a difference in the lives of the people you serve. That's also a purpose. But I also think we want freedom of purpose. We want to be able to choose our purpose, whatever your purpose is. But I look at it and say, once we get our purpose, to be thinking about how we can produce value. We should never think about what's in it for me. Think about how can we help. That's a higher purpose. And when we have a higher purpose, what ends up happening is we surround ourselves with supporters because everybody we work with can sense our purpose. That's sixth sense. And what ends up happening because they know that the ultimate goal, the ultimate intention of you, whether it's people on your team or the people you're serving in real estate, is to make a difference. So look at it. We want freedom of money, we want freedom of time, and freedom of purpose. I think what we're all looking for. So I take you through this. I want you to think about those three things. This isn't about figuring out how to work more. How could we actually increase our income and work 25% less? That would be fun, wouldn't it? So think about that because you've got to know what it is you're going to build. So what I want to do is I want to go to the different team structures. So here's team structure number one. Pretty simple structure. This is where you have a team leader and you generally have an assistant. But I want to expand on this because there's many evolutions of each model. And I see all kinds, like let's face it, we coach an awful lot of people every year and I see all of these different models. You know, I look and say, we have one agent, Ralph is his name, he's a coaching member, and he had a model where he had a client care coordinator, an assistant, and 3 agents. And he just got rid of them, all of the agents. He kept the client care coordinator and the assistant, and he's evolving the model. So let me explain that. So when I look at this model here, I see that this is where a team leader hires an assistant, which to me makes tons and tons and tons of sense, right? You know, you go to a doctor's office, they have an assistant. You go to a dentist's office, they have an assistant. You go to an attorney's office, they have an assistant. And the reason why is because they want to delegate away the low dollar per hour task and focus more on the higher dollar tasks so they can make more revenue in the same amount of time for their business. However, there's an evolution of this model that I'm starting to see that I think is really cool. So Patricia Guernsey, she's from Belleville. She's one of your chairman members, been a coaching member for probably close to 20 years. You know, she is a personal assistant. So what you could do is you could have a model where you have an executive assistant, but you could also have a personal assistant. Or maybe you have a personal assistant 2 days a week to do all of the things in your life that you do not want to do that are taking up your time you can spend more time in higher producing activities. And I don't know what those things might be. You know, whether it's getting groceries, whether it's cleaning the house, whether it's washing the car, but we could go on and on dropping off the dry cleaning. And this is a different way of thinking. Because a lot of people think, well, no, you know, I've always been schooled to believe I got to do that stuff. You don't have to do it. You choose to do it. We don't have to do anything. We choose to do everything. But then there's another evolution of this model as well. So another was, you know, we're getting busy. We're doing 36 deals a year all by ourselves. Now we're going to hire an assistant to help us with administrative tasks. You know, or maybe we're going to have that plus we're going to have a personal. But Ralph, who I mentioned before, what he's decided to do, which is a new model that I see evolving, it's been around for a while, but I'm seeing more people do it, is what they're doing is they're actually surrounding themselves with many assistants. So there's a guy by the name of Faisal, and I bet you, let me see, many of you would know Faisal. He's in the Kitchen-Waterloo area. And anyway, so Faisal, he has 4 assistants right now that I know of, okay? 4 assistants. And he is the only agent. He does all of the listing appointments. He shows all of the property, if he shows property. The guy's doing over 400 deals a year. But the only thing he does is take incoming calls, okay? Qualifies a lead better than anybody else could qualify a lead. Then what he does determines whether he's going to go on that appointment or not, or maybe what he should do is give that off to another agent called an overflow agent because he doesn't want to work with that person, right? Which would be a lot of the buyers or leads that aren't quite as qualified, maybe ready to do something now. They're going to require a lot of follow-up. He takes one that has, you know, immediate urgency. He goes on those listing appointments. Once he's done, he just hands everything into his office, all of his other assistants, and they do everything on that property until there's an offer. And then he gets back involved. So that's another model. Do you see what I'm saying? It's because a lot of people start to hire agents and they go, well, the agents can't qualify. They can't set appointments. They can't do this. They can't do that, right? So another model is that what you do is surround yourself with a lot more support staff so that you can only focus on talking to people and appointments. And that's all you do all day. It's not uncommon for Faisal to do 4 to 6 listing appointments in one day. Okay, so that's just another model. And I know I'm thinking big here, but I just want you to see what is possible. The second model is this is where you have partners. And what ends up happening is you see this with husband and wives all the time. Okay, so they decide they're going to partner up and they're going to work together. And by the way, the best partnership is a husband and wife. When I see people partner with other agents, in a lot of cases, those relationships do not work out. Now, some do, don't get me wrong. But it's sort of like, you know, when people get married. We know that when people get married, there's roughly a 50% chance there's going to be a divorce. Well, I'll tell you, when 2 agents come together and they decide they're going to create a partnership, there's more like about a 75% chance they're going to have a divorce. Now, I'm not saying that some aren't successful. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is most that I've seen do not work long term. Because what happens, somebody's always working harder than somebody else. Somebody's bringing in more business than somebody else. Right? And it starts to fall away. But where it really works well is family members. Maybe it's a mother and a son. Maybe it's a father and a daughter, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But where I really see it work well is when there's family members involved. And yes, there's some great partnerships out there that aren't family members as well, but I'm just saying to you that I see most of them that don't work out. I'm just being honest with you about this. That would be the third is this, is what we do is we have the team leader. We could have partners too, and they are just a listing agent. Many of you know Rob Kelly. Rob Kelly, he's up in, sort of northwestern Toronto. This is Rob Kelly's market, or model. What he does is he does all of the listings. He is a full-time buyer's agent, does all of the buyers, and he's got an assistant in his office that looks after everything else. And Rob's got a fair amount of freedom of time, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like, he gets to do a lot of other things other than just sell real estate. Now, Rob has stated he has no desire to move beyond this model. Like, we coached Rob for many, many years. He just said, that's my model. I like this model. I don't want to hire agents. I don't want to look after anybody else. This is my model. Now, you might say, and some of you already know this, but why buyer's agent? Because it takes more time to work a buyer than it does to work a seller. Last statistic I read, it takes 32 hours roughly from start to finish to work with a buyer, and it only takes about 8 hours start to finish to work with a seller. Because think about it. You list a house, right? And what ends up happening is once you get the listing, everybody else runs out and shows it. You've got other people working for you. So it makes sense that if you're going to evolve, that you want to go to a buyer's agent so that you can just focus on the listing side of the business. Number 4 is this. This is where you now have agents. So yes, you've got admin, you've got assistants. Now assistants could be client care, they could be marketing, right? They could even be a manager of your office. That's what I mean by assistants. That's administrative stuff, more people in the office. Then what they do is they hire listing agents and buyer's agents. And again, another model that I see very, very common out there. You know, if I look, I can see Tanya and Kathy Rocker here right now. Good to see you, ladies. And this is a little bit of what their model looks like. We've worked with them for many, many years. But what they're doing is they can take somebody that's really good at buyers. Think about this. Think about somebody is out there. They're thinking to themselves, you know, I could use, you know, some help. I got all these buyers. So you hire a buyer's agent. And they work with buyers because they're efficient and effective at working with buyers. But maybe you mold them so eventually they become a what? Because it takes more skill to be a listing agent because you've got to be able to do a listing presentation, don't you? Most people default to buyers. Most new agents start with buyers because they're easier, right? You just find them, somebody calls, you show them a house, hopefully try to find them something else. But that's not the most efficient or effective way to work. You want to get on to what is the listing side. So what you might do is start building a model where you have to actually train and certify agents in your office as listing agents. And until they become certified, which means they've probably gone on tons of listing appointments with you, which means you've probably, you know, watched them do a listing presentation, which means you've helped them understand how to negotiate price, how to negotiate commission, and we go on and on. So they get to a point they're very, very well trained, and once they're very, very well trained, then that buyer's agent can then evolve to a listing agent or just an agent. But you got to make sure they're great, and I'll talk more about that when we get into the second section. And then the last team structure is obviously of a team leader that becomes a mini brokerage. In essence, that's what it is. And they have admin and operations and people on that side, and then they just hire a whole bunch of agents. And the agents go out and they just, you know, act like an agent that's actually in an office. So these are the 5 models that I tend to see. There's one other evolving, and that model is where you have a licensed agent, but all they do is show property. They don't make a lot of money. You can even put them on salary. You could pay them like, you know, 50 or 60 grand a year, or a very small percentage of each deal, and they don't negotiate. So you meet with a buyer as an example, you know, find out that the buyer needs analysis, find out what they want, and then all the showings are just done by an agent that runs out and shows them. This is a Redfin model down in the US, by the way, that goes out and just, you know, shows them property, and then when it comes to negotiation or maybe even picking the final house, you might get back involved. And you just salary this person. They might work weekends, so you don't have to work weekends. So that's another, you know, model that I'm seeing in there as well. So that gives you an idea what are all the possibilities. But here's what I want you to think about. When you think about, because you're going to get some tactical stuff today, but when you're thinking about the ideas you're looking for, are the ideas that you're looking for going to get you where you want to go? Because unless you know what it is you want to build, then every idea looks good. But there's a lot of ideas you should say no to, more so than you should say yes to. Because you only pick the ideas to execute that are going to move you towards the long-term vision that you have to build your business. Because at the end of the day, your goal is to build a business that supports the life that you want to live. So in other words, you build a business that gives you maybe the money, the time freedom, the freedom of purpose that what it is you're looking for. That it doesn't give you golden handcuffs. It's not constraining your life, okay? It's adding to your life. It's not making your life worse, it's making your life better. Because everybody remember that life is primary and business funds our life. So that's the way we want to look at it. And if you think about this, I love this quote. It says, top line is vanity, bottom line is sanity, and cash on hand is reality. I can't tell you how many conversations that we have had with team leaders that when I actually look at their numbers, right, the numbers are not good, right? Yep, they got big numbers on the outside, but they got very little numbers on the inside. Okay, their profit margins are small and their cash flow is not good. That's never a good place to be. I've always said that as a company, I have a responsibility, as you do, because we're all company owners or business owners. I have a responsibility as well as you do to be financially profitable, because if I'm not financially profitable, I'm almost broke. And if I'm almost broke, if I have people working for me, I could put them at risk. So here's what I want you to do for fun right now, and then we're going to go into trends. I want you in the chat, if you would, is now that I've put the 5 different models, which are still in PowerPoint, just type in the chat, what are you building? What do you want to build? Because there's no right or wrong answer to it, okay? What is it that you want to build? So Matt says, I want to build number 2, which is great. Gabriel says number 2. I love it, okay? Jason 5, Dina, number 2. Tyson said 1 or 3. Chantel, it's moving pretty fast. I am 3, want to go to 4. Beautiful. I love that where you know where you are, right? And where you want to go. And just, the chat moves fairly fast. I can't see them all. But so if I don't call you out, that's just because it moved past me quickly. I'm not avoiding you. Jim said 5. Stacy said 3. Good stuff. Yeah, Jonathan, 4, likely. Okay, good stuff. John Ripko, we've talked about this, Johnny. We know what you want to build. He wants to build a 5, right? And the only reason Johnny wants to build a 5 because 2 months isn't enough. He wants to start taking 4 or 6 months off, right, Johnny? I see you there, buddy. Hey? That's what he says. We know what you want to build. Christine says 3. Modern Real Estate said, I have a rare partnership that's lasted for 6 years. I think that is so cool. Like, I'll tell you, there is nothing better than a partnership if it works. It's just, unfortunately, I see so many of them that don't work, and the number one reason that partnerships don't work is because everybody's keeping score. That's the problem. I remember talking to this really, billionaire successful guy one time. I was in Denver. And anyway, and this guy was really successful. And he had a partnership, right? And it wasn't a relation. It wasn't a spouse or anything like that. And I said, how can you attribute your partnership working well for so long? And without hesitation, he says, we don't keep score. And I thought to myself, yeah, right? We don't keep score. Like, we don't count, how many you did and how much I did and how much you work and how much I work and how many of your kids are getting paid through, whatever the case is. We don't count. We don't keep score. And I got thinking about that, and I thought, wouldn't you all agree that's probably true to a marriage as well? The best way to have a great marriage is not to keep score, right? It's not about who's winning and losing, it's about are we, both bringing value, to what it is we're doing. Okay, Tracy Appleton, she said, I also have a very strong partnership. The key is to put ego aside and not be petty with one another. Yeah, 100%, Tracy. Thank you for sharing that. Sierra said we treat it like a marriage. Beautiful stuff. Okay, now, and just so you all know, because I want you to take advantage of today, I know there is a way that you can save the chat as well. So let's say you start to see lots of really good ideas in here. There is a way, I think it's down on the bottom right of the chat. There might be 3 dots or something, but I think there's a way you can actually save the chat. And also, just so you know, yes, we are going to get you the PowerPoint slides if any is interested. We'll make them all available to you, so you'll get all the slides as well, in case I go through stuff too fast, because we want to get as much content to you as we possibly can. Okay. I enjoy being at 3. Yeah, so Jillian from Ottawa says, I enjoy being at 3. And that's the secret, Jillian, to all of you. I look at, and again, I know I talk about, my situation, but it's the only situation I know intimately that I can use as example sometimes. I know many of our members, obviously, but I look at our business as well as I love our business. I love our company. I love our team members. I love our customers. We always say we get the best customers in the world. Now, could we grow faster? And the answer is yes. Do I want to grow faster? No. Like, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in being the biggest. That doesn't even enter my mind. Do I want to grow every year? Yes. But, if we grow by, 10 to 15% a year, I'm really excited. That's good. Even if it happened to be 8%, I'm good. That's good. Because the minute you start growing too fast, you got to bring too many people in. You might bring in the wrong people, which we'll talk about the right people later today. And I look at it and say, yes, I want to grow, but also I want to make sure it doesn't take away from the quality of life that I want to live as well. I'm not interested in working 80 hours a week. I'm not interested in even working 45 hours a week, right? I'm interested in taking a week off every single month. That's the vision that I have, and then I want to build that business out, right, so that it gives me what it is I really want in my life, and I also want to be able to give my staff what it is they really want in their life, right? So you can build anything. The business to me is like, I always say that family is a gift, right? Life is an adventure, and family is a gift, and business is a game. And you can design this thing any way you want, but design it in a way that's going to serve the life that you want to live. So I think that's the thought you might want to consider, as we start to move through today. Okay, so thank you all for sharing. I appreciate you taking the time to punch stuff into the chat. Who else we got up here? Those are Amy Flowers. How are you, Amy? Good to see you. Good stuff. Christy Bond. I don't know if that's Christy Bond. Looks like a man to me. But anyway, we won't get into that. I'm just kidding you. Jack Ouellette, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you there. Linda Thomas, good to see you. Yeah, Doug Peterson, great to have you here. Good stuff. Mike Fisher. Hey, Mike, how you doing, buddy? Are you the hockey player? Are you married to Carrie Underwood? I just want to check because Mike Fisher's married to Carrie Underwood. Okay, so it's not you. All good stuff. Okay, so let's get in now to trends and what I see is opportunities. So here's what I want you to do. We've got about another 6-7 minutes to go before we're going to move to the next section. I want you all, especially after listening to Phil, because Phil gave you all kinds of ideas, but write in, what do you see right now as, a major trend that is taking place in the real estate industry? What do you see? I'm really interested because I got all my ideas and I'll take you through them, but what do you see as sort of a major trend that's taken place? Okay, so just type them in, and this will be good because everybody gets to see this. Like, this is how we learn. Yeah, I'd like the team slides. We'll get them to you. Digital brokerages, yes. GTA exodus, yes. Moving from city to suburbs, yes. Increasing use of Zoom, yes. People leaving town for more rural places, yes. Regionalization of business, moving to cottage country, yes. Upsizing, yes. Out-of-town buyers, yes. Okay, bigger spaces, more room. Young investors, yes. Yeah, home ownership is changing from birthright to privilege. I like that. That's a really good thought. Yeah, one time everybody, but now a lot of people, it's very difficult. Separate rooms, yes. Remote working, big deal, isn't it? Yeah, continual use of virtual technology. Yeah, need office for home locations. Social media lead generation. Yes, much tougher for first-time buyers, I agree. High-quality marketing, video, drone, higher investments by agents trying to distinguish themselves. I love it. Tracy, love affair with open concept is diminishing. Beautiful. Investors buying several properties, end of open houses. Maybe virtual, you could do them. Choice of where to live, flexible, yes. Okay? Acceleration of baby boomers retiring out west. Agents working in isolation. Okay, so you're absolutely right. There are a lot of the trends that are taking place. So, and you might want to write these down because you've pretty well hit on most of the ones I want to talk about. But if we look at it, I think we can all agree with this, okay? Because we want to get prepared for next year. Number one, I think we can all agree that interest rates are very, very low, which means what? Means our market is probably going to stay very, very good. Does everybody agree with that? I think our market, now I'm not saying we're not going to have slowdowns every now and then, but I do think that overall our market is going to remain very, very good because I can't see interest rates going anywhere for probably a couple years. And that's what a lot of the economists have said. So I think one trend is we can have faith that real estate, as Phil said, the 3 Ps, puppy, Peloton, and real estate, okay, property, are going to continue to do very, very well, okay? Number two, I think renovations are at an all-time high. Would you all agree? Because so many people if they're not moving, they're renovating their home. So I look at that as a marketing opportunity. Here's the marketing opportunity. Should I renovate? Should I move? Everybody see that one? Should I renovate? Should I move? Because see, every time I see a trend, I see an opportunity. That's what I think about, right? So for you to generate leads, are you playing that game, marketing game? Should I renovate? Should I move? Get them to call you. Get them to inquire you about it. Talk about the pros and cons of both, okay? Then I go here, new moving trends, leaving urban cities, condo market, okay, bigger homes with home offices. We've seen what's happened in both Vancouver and Toronto. The condo market has slowed down. I think it's relatively short-lived. I think things are going to pick up in the condo market again next year, but there's no question a lot of people are leaving high-density housing. And they're going to move north of some of these bigger cities into more rural areas. There's no question about that. So in terms of your marketing, have you played that game? Thinking of leaving the big city? You see where I'm going with this? Because what you need to do is be providing valuable marketing content based on what people are thinking about. I can connect you with an agent anywhere in Canada, anywhere in Ontario. These are all marketing opportunities, just so you know. Every trend is a marketing opportunity, okay? So I want you to think about that for a minute. We're seeing a lot of that. We're also seeing a lot right now of people that are saying, I need or I have the ability to work virtually. So you look at that and you say, are you talking about that in your marketing? Okay? In other words, maybe you're doing some great videos on homes that are completely set up with offices for both a husband and wife. How to retrofit your home could be something you start to talk about. Like, these are all opportunities when it comes to trends. Look at every single trend. Here's another example. We look at Zoom. You look at what's going on here right now. This is an opportunity that we would not have taken advantage of a year ago, doing a virtual event. Now, there's advantages of this. I know there's disadvantages, but I see so many advantages. And here's what the advantages are. I'm 20 minutes from my house right now. Most of you are sitting at home or in your office. We didn't have to travel to an event, right? Last year I did the team event. I had to drive down to Toronto, stayed the night before at a hotel to make sure I was there, right? So there's some inconvenience to that. Not terrible, but some inconvenience to that. But also, I'm sitting here, and now we can communicate with each other. I couldn't do that in a real event unless I was, asking you one at a time and you'd stand up and say something. So when I see this whole digital world, I start thinking to myself, what is the opportunity for you? Now, we have many of our coaching members that every first appointment is done on Zoom. Every single one. Kim Phillips in Vancouver, every single one of her appointments is done on Zoom. Are you doing that? Should you be doing that? Can you take advantage of this trend? I look at Nathan Dart. Nathan Dart from the middle of March, okay, up until about, I haven't seen his numbers since probably, I'm going to say the end of September, but he had done 46 virtual listing appointments and converted 45 into listings. Always starts with a virtual appointment. What about open houses? We talk about open houses. So you look and you say, what about open houses? Even if we go back to doing open houses, which by the way we will, at some point we're going to be doing physical open houses because it's too good of a lead generating system, and for some reason sellers seem to want them. But while you're doing an in-person open house, could you also be doing a virtual open house when things open up? Because right now we can do them virtually. So if I go back to March thinking I had a Master's Academy coming up in Vancouver in June, we had to cancel it. It was a big deal, but we still did a virtual Master's Academy in June. I would have never done that if it wasn't for COVID. See, what COVID does is it shifted our ability to use technology because everybody's used to technology now. There's hardly anybody that doesn't understand how to use Zoom, or at least get on it, because people were having, parties and dinners with family using Zoom. Now, you couldn't have done that as well a year ago because people go, oh, I don't want to be on camera. No, I don't like cameras. No. You want it for dinner, you come over to the house. You know what I mean? You want to see what my house is worth, you come over here. No, I don't want to be on camera. It was crazy, right? Nobody wanted to be on camera. Why? Because they don't like the way they look on camera. Don't they realize they look the same way in person? But anyway, we won't get into all that. Well, now what's going on? Look at all the people, you're all on camera. You would have been on camera as much before. Now everybody's going, who cares? Now we got virtual backgrounds. You're all figuring this whole thing out. See, so when I look at these trends that you all mentioned, and you need to make sure you take notes of all these trends, is each one of those trends is an opportunity, and don't think they need to go away. It becomes a hybrid. So in other words, do you think if we can do an in-person Virtual Masters Academy next year in Toronto, if we can, would we not stream it as well? Makes sense, doesn't it? Well, you need to be doing the same thing. You got to be on the leading edge. And here, let me tell you something else. Teams have an advantage over everybody else. So think about this, everybody, is that you're faced with an opportunity right now to evolve your business in a way you would have never got away with doing it before, which is so cool. Look at 3D technology. Look at drones, as somebody said. This is the new way. This is the new way. Teams, based on their revenue, can generally do this where a lot of single agents can't afford to spend that type of money, especially if they're new. Most of you can. So what I'm saying to you is get into that game. That's the game you got to get into. Start doing virtual appointments. Start doing virtual open houses. Totally get into that game. Embrace it. Don't be thinking this. Don't be thinking, once COVID's over, we're going back to normal. No. Be on the leading edge. Show people you're there. You know how to get through this. You know how to use Zoom effectively. You do showings in houses using FaceTime or Zoom, whatever you want. Well, yeah, go ahead and show me your house. I'm sitting in my office. Go ahead and show me your house right now. As you're walking through, I'm going to ask a question. It's beautiful, everybody. So look at every trend, and with every trend, look for the opportunity. That's what you want to be looking for. But here's the biggest trend of all. The biggest trend of all, I think, is about creating an experience. This is what people want today. So we call it the client experience. So before I start taking you through these slides, I want you to think about something. I was sitting at home last night. Sue was in a different studio where we're doing our Virtual Masters Academy. Sue's my wife, by the way. And what she's doing is she's actually, she had doing all the run-throughs with all the panelists and the speakers and all of that, getting ready, for Virtual Masters Academy. So I was sitting at home, and she said, I don't know if I'll be home for dinner. If I do, it's going to be late, so go ahead and look after yourself. Well, I'm not much of a cook, right? And in all fairness, we've been stuck in the house for so long, we've been cooking for so long, I go on my phone, I hit DoorDash. 26 minutes later, I had Joey's delivered to my house. No, I'm not going to tell you what I had. It was not healthy, but by God, it was good. But I'm telling you, that is convenience. That was an experience, wasn't it? I didn't have to get in my car, drive to Joey's, park my car, walk inside. We got to start to think about people want to get rid of pain points today. They want you to create a better experience for them. Uber taxi, who has a better experience? Well, we got to start to think this way, everybody. All of us do, because with technology, it is becoming the new world. 95% of consumers say customer service or the customer service or the experience, and I don't even like the word customer service anymore, right? That's why I put CX. It's a customer experience is the key to brand loyalty. Here's another slide. It says customer experience is the new marketing battleground. The experience you create for people. 86% of people will pay more for the superior customer experience. See, people want subtraction in their life, not addition. They're already busy. They don't need you putting them to work. They want their life to be easier. I want you to watch this video right here.
One of the first things that we have to talk about are showings. Once we get onto the market, there's going to be an expectation for folks to come into the house. Now, this is actually a pain point. And the reason that it's a pain point is because you have to get your house ready. You have to leave the house. All of the lights have to be on. And what basically happens is at that time, your house is not your own. And it's very strange because you actually might feel this sense, to be blunt, of a little bit of violation because somebody's actually coming in there and judging your house. But it's also time for excitement because on the flip side, somebody might come in, fall in love with it, and write an offer on it. So while it's a challenging position to be in, it's also one of the most exciting positions to be in.
Okay, so I saw somebody said they couldn't hear it. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you got that video okay. You all heard it okay? Thumbs down if you didn't. Okay, so we got I got this going on, everybody, so I don't know what happened. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the video again if that's okay, because I want to make sure that you all got it. So I'm going to go back. And by the way, hey, you know what's really cool about the new virtual world? When you make mistakes, you can get away with it right now because everybody's very forgiving because they understand everything we're doing is new, right? So when you screw up a Zoom call, don't worry about it. It's all good. Okay, so let's watch it one more time.
One of the first things that we have to talk about are showings. Once we get onto the market, there's going to be an expectation for folks to come into the house. Now, this is actually a pain point. And the reason that it's a pain point is because you have to get your house ready. You have to leave the house. All of the lights have to be on. And what basically happens is at that time, your house is not your own. And it's very strange because you actually might feel this sense, to be blunt, of a little bit of violation because somebody's actually in there and judging your house. But it's also time for excitement because on the flip side, somebody might come in, fall in love with it, and write an offer on it. So while it's a challenging position to be in, it's also one of the most exciting positions to be in.
Okay, everybody get it that time? Okay, good. It looks like we got it. So that's Peter Brower. Peter's, he's been a coaching member for many, many years. If he's not the number one real estate at Royal LePage Atlantic, he's up there. He's been the number one many, many years. But Peter got this concept when I started talking about experiences. And I said, what we need to do is we've got to look at the experience that we create for a consumer, and we got to figure out how do we make the experience better. If we want more repeat and referral business than ever before, then what we got to do is we got to create better experiences. So what I'm going to do is, I know some people are saying they didn't understand, there was an echo. Well, let's do this. Let's take that video. I'm talking to the team right now. Let's take that video and let's put it into the chat if we can, so people can listen to it at home on their own, okay? So they can share the link. I'm sure Peter won't mind. I hope he doesn't mind. I know he won't. But so what I'm saying is we've got to figure out the experience. And imagine this. Imagine if what you did is you brainstormed with your team, and do it with stickies. This is a beautiful little thing to do, and then we're going to go into a breakout session. So what you do is you get a bunch of stickies, and you do it on a wall, you do it on a whiteboard. And what you do is you say, okay, incoming lead, there's the one sticky. What's the next thing you do to create a great experience for them? What's the next thing you do? What's the next thing you do? What's the next thing you do? So what if you did this? What if you said, okay, property is now listed. What are all the things we're going to do to create a great experience for those people? Right? So not just the normal things. I get the properties listed, but not just the normal things you would normally do. But what are all the little things you're going to do? Okay, and you put a sticky up, 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 and you create what we call a roadmap or a path, the experience path. So what we did as a company was we created 3 experiences. So this one here is called the lead experience, okay? And I can show you just visuals of them, but it won't really help you that much. So you got a lead experience. We said, okay, when a lead comes in, right here, here's where the lead comes in, what do? Now, if you're on any of our training academies, you saw this. Well, you know what you do immediately? You call, text, or email fast. And if you got a team, you give this to your team, and they follow the experience. You know, oh, you get no answer. Okay, you call them back if you had it. Then you send them a video. So now all of a sudden you do a little bomb video, whatever. Right? Day after, what do? Maybe you send a one-sheet of something valuable, right? So this creates an experience. Oh, they did answer. What's the experience I'm going to create over here? Okay, now all of a sudden, you know, we got them listed, and now they're a client. So they're a seller client right here. What do? You know, day offer is accepted. What do? And it goes all the way down. You create an actual experience roadmap. And how can you, and this is for we call it advocates or clients. Now that they've sold their home, how do we continually bring value to them afterwards so we get lots of repeat and referral business? So what I'm suggesting is that there's lots of trends that are taking place, everybody. There's no question, okay? And I look at every trend as being an opportunity. And you guys mentioned them all. You get the trends. Phil talked about some of the trends as well. But what I'm saying is you want to take every trend that is taking place and figure out how to turn that into an opportunity. You can turn technology into an opportunity, there's no question, right, if you choose to. You know, how you can do a better job with 3D tours, just one example. And also, what about an onboarding experience? What about your agents, people you hire? Do you have an onboarding experience for them? You know, that's written down, that's listed. You know, when they walk in and there's flowers sitting on their desk the first day, as an example, with a little package of something. You know, then you have the whole training laid out, how they're going to be trained. That's what great leaders do. That's what great business people do. Look at everything that you do. Every time you touch somebody, you're creating an experience. Is it good or is it bad? Right? Create great experiences today, and your business will automatically grow. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into a breakout right now. And obviously, here's how the breakouts work. It's going to be 15 minutes long. What's going to happen is I think there's going to be something come up on your screen. It'll say enter breakout room. You just click on that. And when you click on it, you're going to be a room with, you know, somewhere around 5 people. It could be 4 to 6 people. So we've got it all controlled from here. And then when you get in there, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to identify yourself if you don't know everybody. And, you know, yeah, I work in this market, you know, and you go through all of those things. And then what I'd like you to do is I want you to talk about, okay, we want to make this very positive. I want you to talk about what do you see as the biggest opportunity for you in 2021 and why? You know, so you might say, you know, something digital. You might say, taking advantage of this particular trend, whatever it is. But in 2021, you might say, I'm going to go from a 3 to a 4. But I want you to say why. So here's my biggest opportunity. Not real estate's biggest opportunity, your biggest opportunity. Because when you explain it, you clarify the message in your head, plus you help other people see an opportunity for them they might not have thought of. Right? So what we do is we get now multiples of learning. And then what will happen in 15 minutes, you'll automatically come back here. You might see something come up, you got to click on it, and then you come back in to the main room, and then we're going to move you into some concurrent sessions, okay? So we'll see you back here in about 15 minutes, everybody. Thanks for your morning.